What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Phantom Frequency Network. And for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. This is where we get into the entire multiverse of pop culture, anime, music, TV shows, you name it, we talk about it. And make sure, if you haven't already, check out all the other stuff we got going on here on the channel. We got full-on movie reviews, we got trailer reactions, we got a lot of new content we were working on for the new year. We recently just launched a music audio focused podcast hosted by yours truly right here called Phantom FM, and we just dropped the second episode here over this past weekend. So make sure you're checking that out going into the holiday season, and right there for Christmas weekend we're going to be dropping episode 3 of Phantom FM, so make sure you tune in for all that goodness. But with no further ado, let's get into the main topic of today. We're talking about one of my personal favorite Christmas movies, funny enough to say. One of my all-time favorite horror films as well. I'm talking about the 1974 classic, one of the most underappreciated and underknown movies out there in the horror genre, Black Christmas, baby, directed by A Christmas Story's own Bob Clark. That's right, the man that made one of the best Christmas movies of your guys' childhood out there. Also fucked up a bunch of people's childhoods in the 70s, and I was playing. But he also made one of the dopest horror films of all time, and it's kind of a shame he never came back to the genre, because this fucking movie is so fucking awesome. I actually saw it for the first time about 6 years ago during the holiday season. I was actually watching a lot of different YouTubers and different things like that about different horror movies and things like that. I wanted to dig deeper into the genre, learn about more of those deeper cuts, and I came across a review for the 74 classic itself, Black Christmas, and I had never heard of it before, and I hadn't heard of the 2006 remake or anything like that. They hadn't done the bullshit Blumhouse version yet, so it was strictly the original for me at the time, and I was like, okay, sounds kind of interesting, you know what I'm saying? Christmas horror movies have become a little more commonplace these days, but I believe this one, Black Christmas itself, was one of the very first ones, so definitely very interested in that, and I was like, all right, let me check out and see what this is all about, man. People were saying this is literally one of the most influential slasher movies out there that just didn't get its just due, so I was like, let me turn it on and let me see what's going on. And goddamn, this shit blew me away, man. It's so well done, and although you can definitely tell it's an old school movie when you're watching it, you can tell it's a product of the 70s, you know it's a damn good movie for sure, and once you're watching it, you can see why so many filmmakers in the horror genre were influenced by this film. You can also see why so many horror fans all around the world, but mostly in Canada, before it got over here to the US, were in love with this film. And, you know, even film cinephiles like Quentin Tarantino were really into this film and actually had a copy of it, had a reel of it, or a copy of it on a film reel, and would show it to all his buddies and stuff like that, and would screen it for people over the years. And as it gained notoriety throughout the 90s and into the 2000s, it became kind of the classic that it's known for in the horror community. So that's kind of how it started getting out there in the zeitgeist, and all the Gen X and kind of older millennial YouTubers that were kind of covering this content on YouTube and everything like that, and in podcast format, was starting to spread it off to the younger millennials, and then even the younger people than me, Gen Z and all that, and started spreading Black Christmas over to us younger folks. So it was really cool kind of looking back and looking at the history of the film and seeing how it's grown over time and kind of found its audience at a much later time. And sometimes that happens, and actually a lot of times that happens with art. Sometimes you're a little too early, and it might be years, decades, maybe even a century or two before your art really gets out there. So it's kind of crazy to see how this is one of those things, because literally less than a decade or about a decade later, he did A Christmas Story in the mid-'80s, and that just took off right away, it seems like. So it's very interesting to see how all that's turned out and how everything's came to be. But getting into some of the background on the film, just kind of getting into the cast, the characters, stuff like that, the actual film itself, you got the great Olivia Hussey playing the main final girl here, Jess Bradford, and then you also got the late, great Margot Kidder up in here as the drunk, antagonistic fellow sister of the sorority, just simply known as Barb, you know what I'm saying? And she could be quite a bitch, man. She could be a bitch on wheels in this thing, man, I gotta tell you. And then you got the late, great John Saxon as Lieutenant Ken Fuller in here, man. And another great performance from the great John Saxon, man. He always came through and killed it. And the same thing for Margot Kidder, man. Two of the greatest actors, man, especially in the 20th century. And they will definitely be dearly missed by all their fans out there, including myself. But they were just so awesome in this movie, especially Margot Kidder. I always get such a kick out of her performance. She's so funny, but so bitchy, but also kind of witty in a certain sense too. And she's just so fun and infectious in the film. And even though you're not supposed to like her for the most part in this thing, you can't help but love her, man. Or at least I can't help but love her. She is so fun to watch in this, and you can see the early star power that was there even then, because I believe this came out 4 to 5 years before the original Richard Donner. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm forgetting the guy's name. The OG Superman. What the hell's wrong with me? Christopher Reeve. There you go. There you go. I knew I'd get there. But yeah, the original Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner Superman film where she played Lois Lane, this preceded that by a good 4 or 5 years. So you could definitely see that star power that was there even that early on in her career, in her early 20s, man. And it's a shame that things had to turn out the way they did later on in her career and in her personal life, because she definitely was one of those great actresses of her time. Amityville Horror and all these different things, man. And I think in the modern day and age, especially with the way streaming has taken off and giving a lot of older actors another lease on life and brought back a lot of great actors in the indie film world as well, has brought back a lot of older actors, a lot of older filmmakers. It is a little bit of a bummer to see how things turned out for her, but I'm glad she's at peace now, and we will always have these great performances and her great body of work to look back on. So definitely gonna always look back on this performance and this character very fondly. For that reason, before I knock Luffy over here. And then you can't forget about the late, great John Saxon. Always loved this guy in every single film I seen him in. First thing I seen him in was the original Nightmare on Elm Street, baby, 1984. And then I ended up seeing him in 96, From Dusk Till Dawn, End of the Dragon, several other things. And then when I actually seen him in this, I was like, oh shit, there's my guy right there, man. And he was always so reliable to play one of these cop type figures. But I loved how the characters he would always play were either very well written, and he would also just very much elevate the material that he's given. And he's just so damn magnetic and so likable on screen, you know what I mean? And he just really brings it together in that kind of role. So really enjoyed seeing him here in this thing. And, you know, you got some other great actors of the day and some people that are a little bit lesser known. One guy that's actually really, really huge now is Keith D'Elia, who was actually the guy that played the main character in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is held by all the cinephiles as one of the greatest films of all time. I don't necessarily dig it like that, but hey, I respect it, you know. But most of you film fans out there, if you're deep in the fandom frequency multiverse with us, I'm pretty sure you already know about that one. But yeah, Keith D'Elia played Peter, what the hell's his last name? I wrote it down. What the hell is it? Peter Smithy? Peter Smith, let's go with that. But yeah, he plays Jess's boyfriend in the film, Olivia Hussey's character. And it's pretty funny seeing him early on, too, before he actually gained any of the critical acclaim he gained as an actor, too. And his performance is really, really good in here as kind of the asshole, controlling boyfriend that he plays in this thing. And I really dug his performance. It was very subtle, and he was definitely that big red herring for the overall killer, but it definitely did not turn out to be him, as we see later, because Billy is a whole nother can of worms unto himself, man. But you also got Chris Hayden as Art, who is the unfortunate, who was the boyfriend of the unfortunate victim Claire Harris, who was played by Lynn Griffin. And then you also had Andrea Martin, who played Phyllis, and she's gone on to do some other big films as well later on in her career. And yeah, but that's pretty much it for the cast list, man. So you got some pretty big actors up in there, and then some other actors that are kind of that mid-tier, and then a couple actors that you don't really hear from much these days, but they all had their run back in the 70s and 80s, and some of them, like John Saxon, Margot Kidder, you know, have really, really big resumes and some really big hits and some really big legendary films in their catalog. So you could definitely see the star power, you could definitely see the talent there. And when you're talking about talent, you can't help but you can't forget to bring up the great Bob Clark, man. This guy just had I don't know. There's just something about this movie where it was the perfect place, the right time, the right circumstance, the right filmmaker, the right script that was written by Ray Moore. And he didn't go on to do a whole lot of stuff either in Hollywood or just in the filmmaking world in general or in that whole industry. So it's pretty interesting to see how all that turned out. But yeah, man. And then Bob Clark, dude, he did such a phenomenal job directing this film and just absolutely killed it, man. Like, just the overall way where he does the POV shots that have become synonymous with slasher films at this point, and the whole way that he does the really awesome editing with the sound and with the phone calls transitioning to the next scene and things like that. It's just such a great, unique style that he brought to this film. And even though it's been copied over and over and over again since 1974 with this film, man, and over the decades now, 45 years on or something, 46, whatever. It's been a minute, but it's really, 48 years, yeah, because it's almost 50. But yeah, so it's pretty cool to see how Bob Clark was just so ahead of the game, so ahead of the curve with this movie, man, and just the overall editing is really awesome. The sound design is so great. And when you get to the freaking killer himself, Billy, man, crazy shit. Those phone calls still scare the hell out of me, man. Still creep me out every single time. I don't know how the hell the voice actor ever achieved that stuff. It's some of the best voice acting I've ever heard in my life. And I'll tell you, it'll put a chill down your spine. I don't care who you are, how much horror you watch, what you're doing, what you've been through. It's going to creep you out for sure. And if it doesn't, you need to go see a doctor.
Please stop. Oh, God.
What do you want? Why are you doing this?
Let me, Billy. I know you're doing this, Billy. You're answering Billy.
Who are you? For God's sake, what are you doing?
I know what you did, Billy. Filthy Billy. Billy. Billy.
Stop this!
But yeah, man, Billy is just such an effective killer, and I would say the most underrated slasher character out there. He's so creepy, so good. You don't even see what he looks like. It's so effective. The less is more approach definitely works so well in this film with this character. So fucking awesome, man. And like I said, not like I said, but as I wanted to say, and I wanted to mention too, not a super gory film, not super excessive with the kills. There's not really a high body count. I think there's only 4 to 5 victims in this entire film. So it's actually cool to see the restraint and to see that old school filmmaking style, which does make the kills more effective. But it's just a creepy, eerie type of thing. You know what I mean? Just with the overall film. And there's some really good humor in there too, with the whole fellatio joke and a lot of the scenes with Margot Kidder's character Barb and the dumbass cop there with the fellatio thing. There's a lot of really funny moments in the film. The old lady flipping the bird in the picture and all that stuff. There's some really, really funny scenes in this film for sure. And I like how Bob Clark was able to inject some humor and break up the tension and everything like that in this film without derailing the creep factor, without derailing the horror and derailing the scares he was going for. He was able to break up the monotony and break up the darkness of it. So I really, really dug that. I really think he did such a great job with that. And like I said, man, it's a shame that he never returned to the horror genre, and it's also a shame that he passed away in 2007 because I think he still had more great films in him, and he has a really pretty damn good track record left behind. 2 classics in 2 different genres, all about the same holiday, funny enough. So he's definitely going to be a staple in fandom for a long time and possibly for the rest of fandom as we know it, man. But yeah, man, there's really nothing else much for me to say, man. I just really love this movie. It's so freaking good. And if you haven't seen it already and I didn't spoil it all for you, it is damn near 50 years old. So, I mean, come on now. I don't really think I should have to issue a spoiler alert for this one. But if you haven't seen this movie, you need to go out and watch this thing immediately. Watch it during the holiday season. You want to get creeped out a little bit and then throw on A Christmas Story and cheer you back up again, man. And hey, if you're just a little bit of a darker person, this is for you, man. This is for you. Having a little bit of and it's just a phenomenal film, man. You need to check it out if you haven't already, and if you do, if you love it, let me know what you think about this film down in the comments. I would love to discuss it with each and every one of you out there, and much love to each and every one of you new subscribers, and all of you subscribers in general. Y'all are helping the channel grow so much, and the podcast feed's been doing very well as it also. We're getting close to 900 downloads in the overall podcast feed, so thank you very much. All the support has really been a gift to each and every one of us here at the team of Fandom Frequency. So much love and thank you so much, man. We appreciate each and every one of you. But keep that support up, man. Keep clicking the subscribe buttons and all that. Really does help. And we're going to keep on going, man. We're going to keep this thing pushing. We're getting close to 180 subscribers, man. And we've tripled the subscriber count over the past year. It's kind of insane to see all the level of support. I'm getting into great discussions in the comments literally almost every week now. So it's been a hell of a lot of fun, guys. We really do enjoy doing this. And y'all just keep fueling that fire and keep the passion alive here at Fandom Frequency. You do it for us, we do it for you, and it's all a mutual benefit, man. So make sure you join the community today if you haven't already. And we got some more Christmas goodness coming at you. We got the Fandom Frequency Show holiday special coming at you. It's either gonna be Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that. We got some more Christmas goodness coming. We're gonna be getting to some more movie reviews before the end of the year, and then we got our top 10 of the movies, TV shows of the year. We're gonna be doing a top 10 horror movies list. So make sure you stay tuned. You don't sleep on any of that dopeness right there. Until we see you again, make sure you're staying safe out there. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Much love, y'all. Peace.